Alrighty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, sitting in the dark. Because why not? Vampire life.
It's the way I spend my life.
Vampire life. I like it. Anyway, Facebook and YouTube Live to watch us. If you want to listen in the car, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the Cave Talk Radio app. Over 200 downloads so far. Really, really good stuff. All right, so obviously everyone knows what the lead story is today. Hamlin, of course, for those of you who maybe were completely unplugged last night, in the mid to late first quarter of the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals game last night, there was a injury that was maybe life-threatening. It's still uncertain as to whether or not that's the case. Damar Hamlin of the Bills, a safety, got hit in the chest. Fairly routine play, fairly conventional hit. Nothing really crazy about it, but it must have been just the right force at just the right time, just the right angle, whatever it was. He got up from the hit, seemingly fine, and then a second or two later, just like crumbled to the ground. And immediately, medical staff attended to him and ended up administering CPR. He left in an ambulance, and the game was postponed. So we'll see how that plays out, that piece of it. But as far as Hamlin's latest status, the most recent status came in late last night, early this morning, which is basically he's in critical condition. They're running some tests. He's medically sedated, intubated. His vital signs have returned to normal. So that's the latest with that. And I mean, this stuff is scary, and there's a lot of different, things a lot of different ways you can look at this and try to digest this. I've seen two, I think, plausible explanations. One was from a medical doctor that must have recorded this analysis in close to real time, because a listener sent it to me while Hamlin was still, he had just been removed from the field by ambulance. So it was pretty immediate after the incident had occurred. And I forget the exact medical term for the condition, but it's a 1 in a million type of thing where, the heart has an electrical current and symmetry to it. And somewhere in that circuit, if you get hit by something that has enough blunt force trauma in the exact right spot of the chest at the exact right moment, we're talking within milliseconds of this particular part of the heart's electrical circuit, it can send you into immediate cardiac arrest. And whatever the medical terminology was for this condition, the doctor himself said this is something that most medical people expect and reasonably will likely only see in their medical textbooks. It's so rare, and it's actually more associated with baseball than with other sports, because the a ball in the chest would be the most likely sports event that would cause something like this. But so that was one explanation. The other explanation, is, look, I mean, there's been a lot of young athletes that have had sudden cardiac events in the last 2 years, I think largely due to these vaccines. And I don't think that it's not reasonable to think that that very well could have been the cause of this, because actually yesterday too, it was reported by the Daily Caller that a retired NFL player, 38 years old, played for 7 years for Jacksonville. He has a crazy name. I can't pronounce it, but he died suddenly in his apartment, 38. He was found unresponsive. It was a cardiac event. That was actually diagnosed with an autopsy. So, I mean,
so the Daily Caller, they're not one-sided at all, are they? I don't think this is the time with the vaccine.
Well,
I really don't.
I mean, it's absolutely.
Then why isn't everyone dropping over? It's irrelevant.
A lot of people are, and that's why
a few people are.
Way more than just a few. I mean, I could name a bunch of soccer players too. I think it's absolutely topical to this. I do. I mean,
it's not.
It is. Not. I mean,
there's no need to lose focus over what the real issue is. Not that.
Well,
let's not get political today, please.
it's not political. I mean,
It is.
that is a very likely cause in this situation. And there's also
How
other
do you know that? Are you clairvoyant?
sometimes.
How do you know it's a likely cause? We have no idea what caused it.
You say so.
Well, if you have an idea,
I
fine.
do. I do.
All right, fine. Roll with it then.
I just laid it out there. I laid out two, as a matter of fact. So, do I know which one it is at this moment? No, but I do know that this has happened quite a number of times to a number of athletes in terms of sudden cardiac events ending their lives or causing them serious conditions like this. And I think it is fair to ask the question. I do, because look, this wasn't happening 2 years ago. It just wasn't. So what's changed?
It was happening 2 years ago.
No, it was not.
Sure, it was. Players die all the time.
No, they don't. No, they
or
don't.
Get serious.
20-something-year-olds,
have
30-somethings.
serious issues. It's happened a number of times.
30-somethings. Okay, Hank Gathers in the 80s and Reggie Lewis in the late 80s, early 90s. What about between the early 90s and 2019?
I'd have to look.
Well, I don't have to look. I can name off the people that this has happened to in the last 6 months, 12 months. I mean, it's a problem. It absolutely is. And it's concerning to me. The other concern I have is just, what level of overreaction are we going to see in terms of trying to then
Oh, no.
they're going to over legislate something here, I think.
You can't. There's nothing to over legislate. It was a routine play.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000,000%. And I hope they come to that conclusion.
His helmet hit his chest. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't dirty.
Yeah, it was a routine tackle that happens 70 times a game. Yeah.
My concern was, in 1971, Chuck Hughes, the Lions receiver, suffered a heart attack and died on the field. They played the game to conclusion after he was taken off the field. And my first thought was, it's 2023. Please don't do that again. And they didn't.
They didn't.
Which I was glad about.
Yeah, I think most people were. And yeah, I didn't have any particular problem with them postponing or canceling this game. Certainly it was, I guess the thing that most people wanted. So I guess, popular opinion prevailed. I personally wouldn't have had a problem if they decided to conclude it either. But
I would have.
I really wouldn't have. I wouldn't have at all. But I understood.
Most caring people would have.
Yeah, there has to be a level of pragmatism too. I mean, like I said, there was
no, in this case, no.
There was no bad choice in this. They did the thing that was the path of least resistance, which is to just postpone the game. They're going to get the least flack for that, and that makes perfect sense.
They did the thing that was right.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do to, make sure they didn't get blowback. I mean, it certainly was.
Nothing to do with blowback. It was just the right thing to do. You don't have to add anything onto that.
Well, no, of course it had to do with blowback. The NFL is all about avoiding blowback. I mean, but, and it was the right thing to do at the same time. It was both. The two aren't mutually exclusive.
I just say it's the right thing to do without adding any caveat.
Oh, it's more of an addendum. It's not a caveat. Because like I said, they're not mutually exclusive. It's not a caveat. It's an addendum. They're not mutually exclusive. I wouldn't have had an issue with them continuing the game, but it made sense that they didn't. So, and now the question becomes, besides obviously taking a look at what's going to happen with Hamlin's, we're going to be obviously everyone's going to be looking for updates on that throughout the day in the next couple of days. But I mean, the issue at some point is going to come up with when and how they're going to complete this game, because unfortunately, this happens to be the very end of the season and a game of significant standings implications. So at some point that will have to be addressed. Doesn't have to be addressed today, but it will have to be addressed.
Nor should it.
It will have to be addressed this week, though. They don't have a lot of time.
I think you need at least a day for all these players to talk to somebody.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think when we start talking about Wednesday and Thursday, they're gonna have to address this, because unfortunately this isn't week 6.
Well, let's see how Hamlin is first. That's a little more important to me than the next game.
Right this second? Yeah, sure. But the show will go on. It must go on, as they say. So at some point, like,
And it will.
oh, it will, right? And that's all I'm saying. At some point in the next 24 or 48 hours, the conversation is going to turn to, okay, how are we addressing this? How is this? How are we getting back to this? That's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, it made sense that they, aren't going to do that right this second. I mean, that makes perfect sense that they wouldn't do that. But yeah, I think that one of the reasons I bring that up is a guy who I often disagree with. Skip Bayless said this in a fairly controversial tweet, but
Yeah, he had to apologize for
yeah,
that
well, of
this
course he
morning
did.
when it went
Anytime
on
you
the
say
air.
anything controversial, you always have to
Anytime
apologize.
you say anything
But
stupid, yeah, you
it
should.
wasn't stupid. I mean,
Oh, it was unbelievably stupid.
in one tweet, he addressed everything about last night, both what is
The
going on right
timing
now,
was terrible.
but he wasn't wrong about it. He's right about it.
No, he's not.
Sure he is.
You're right sometimes just to shut up, especially right after something like that happens. Nobody gives a shit about the game at that point. No one. And you've got to be pretty cold and pretty callous to care about a football game or any event at that point.
He wasn't talking about at that point. What he was talking about was that they're going to have to play this game at some point sooner than later because it's the end of the season. And
Right,
unfortunately,
but do we worry about that at that time?
it's worth thinking about it. It certainly crossed
No,
my
it's
mind.
not.
It crossed.
It can wait.
No one said it couldn't wait, but it has to be
He could have
addressed.
waited. It was ridiculous. I see Shannon Sharp was a no-show today too.
Okay.
I don't blame him.
And he's a no-show every day. He's a nothing burger anyway.
Well, he's
No
got
loss
that
there.
gig. I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
So
No question about that.
he gets to wear the nice suits. I don't.
That's true. Probably
Not that I want to wear the nice suits.
Nah, suits are overrated.
He gets the money that comes with those nice suits.
That's very true.
So.
That's very true. I just think this whole thing is there's a lot of layers to it. And I think that my purpose today was to address those, which I think I have, as uncomfortable as it might be for other people. That's not
And I'm one of them.
Yeah,
and I admit it.
That's my concern is to address things that other people aren't willing to yet address. That's my style. That's what I do. And that's, that was my purpose today. Obviously, it goes without saying that we're hoping Hamlin makes a recovery. I mean,
well, yeah.
What's done is done, unfortunately. So, like, you can't change what's already happened. So that's why, in my mind, you have to keep an eye on what's going on with Hamlin, but all you can do is keep an eye on it and pray, right? Like, what else is there to do?
And that's all you can.
That's all you can do. So the things you can control are figuring out, okay, how do we move on from here? And also, how do we make sure that we don't over legislate something out of a freak accident? Because whatever caused this, whether it's a COVID related vaccine or if it's some other medical condition, whatever it is, the bottom line is this is a once in a million years type of event.
I don't see why would be anything to legislate. There was nothing wrong with the play at all.
No, it was a perfectly clean, normal football play. And yeah, I mean,
T. Higgins felt worse than
oh, of course,
most people. I mean, because he was involved. It's just, I don't know. Everybody's talking too much, and I've seen people condemn the NFL for canceling the game.
I haven't seen, and I don't condemn anything. I mean, like I said before, I had no problem with this decision. I personally wouldn't have had a problem with the inverse decision either. But I'm not going to condemn either. This was one of those things you have to make a spot decision, and you do the thing that
and they made the right.
And you do the thing that you think is right, and that you think will have the best long-term outcome for the league. Because whenever you make a decision, if you're the NFL, you're thinking not only just about what's right for this moment and situation, but also what's right for the league and its brand, protect the shield. But both factors go into every decision they make. They have to. And in this
Well,
case,
that's the way that's
the
operational.
Right. That's how they operate. And in this case, that was the decision to postpone the game.
And it was the right decision.
Yeah, for the league and for the situation, right? So it
I
was.
mean, would you have expected those players to continue?
I mean, expect no. Would
I
I?
wouldn't have.
No. Do I expect
I
them to
wouldn't have
continue?
continued. I'd have just looked at whatever official was in charge and just asked him if.
But I do wonder, and you brought
Okay.
up Hughes, because I read the article too.
Well, we discussed that a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it came up for some other reason. That's true.
Yeah.
But I do ask the question, what has changed so much that it was okay then, but not now? Like when
a lot of people didn't think it was okay then, but
enough did that decision was made to continue.
I'd like to think we've evolved since then as human beings. I know you look at players as just people who go out and perform, and I get it, but they're also people.
Well, they're people. I understand that, but their vocation is not.
And that's a pretty tough time to ask someone to go through that.
No, I understand that. And I don't disagree, but tough and impossible aren't necessarily the same thing. And I don't know that they were right to do that in 1971, but I don't know that they were right to do this today. Like, to me, this is a decision that in both cases, either way would have been justifiable and understandable to me.
I completely disagree.
Like, I really, because I look at it like, well, what
I'm older
changed?
than you. I saw it live in 1971, and I didn't ever want to go through that again.
So what changed? I mean, like, that's like, did we evolve?
People are a little, yeah.
Did we de-evolve? Because I think it could be either way.
No.
I think you could look at it both ways. I certainly do. I could see it as both ways. I mean, life is crappy sometimes. It just is.
Doesn't mean you have to continue at that second. You could take a little bit to regroup.
You can, or you could not. Like that, and that goes back to my point.
And taking that little bit was the right thing to do.
In the context of today, it definitely was.
In the context of any day, it was the human thing to do.
Not necessarily any day. In the context of today, sure. In the context of ever, probably not. But hey.
But we're not dealing with ever.
No, we're not. We're dealing with today. So yes, in the context of today, that was the most prudent decision. And that's what they did. So hopefully Hamlin's okay. And the unfortunate thing about all this too, and we'll get to this throughout the rest of the show, it was a fairly historic day in the NBA yesterday. A lot of big time signature performances.
Yeah.
So we'll lighten things up.
You thought we'd be talking about Klay Thompson to open this thing.
Yes. So he wasn't even a high scorer. Yeah, then all of a sudden, boom, things change.
And Thompson was brilliant.
Yes, he was. And then he wasn't even the most brilliant performer of the night last night.
No.
One Donovan Mitchell.
Oh,
and
is a teaser.
By the way, LeBron, boring, blah, 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 43, 11, and 6, 62%, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, there was a bunch of great performances in the NBA last night. We'll get to those in depth. We also have a lot to talk about as far as we have our NBA power rankings, which we'll do today. We'll do the NFL ones later in the week when we do our picks. So we got our first edition of the power rankings in the NBA as we approach or surpass the midway point of the season. And then we also have our question of the day, top 5 news you can use, all the normal stuff that you love. So we'll be back after this little lighter tenor for the next couple of segments here on the Gary Ayd Show on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right. So, Donovan Mitchell, pretty good at basketball. He was legendary at basketball yesterday.
Yeah, he might make a team.
I think so. I would like him. 71 points for Spider Mitchell yesterday. Insane. Second most in the last 20 years behind Kobe Bryant, who had 81 back in 06 against
and
Toronto.
11 assists.
Amazing. Incredible performance. I mean, just unbelievable. And the crazy thing is Cleveland needed every one of those points, basically.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, it was a wild performance. I'm just pulling up the box score real quick to kind of get a recap of this. I mean, because there were so many performances in the NBA last night that were just absolutely legendary. So it was an overtime game against the Bulls. 145 for the Cavs, 134 for the Bulls. Mitchell, like I mentioned, 71 points. So basically he scored half their points and they scored almost 150. That's insane.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely incredible. And I mean, he was making shots from every place. He was making every type of shot you can make. Floaters, runners, threes, layups, you name it. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And you forget sometimes, at least I do, that this guy's like 6'2"-ish. Like he looks and plays so much bigger because of his length. I mean, he was 20 of 25 from the free throw line, 7 of 15 from 3, 22 of 34 from the field. Guy played 50 minutes. He played the whole game, including overtime. So
34 shots. He scored 71 points on 34 shots.
Unbelievable. 8 rebounds.
Boy,
You mentioned the 11 assists.
How's that for efficiency?
I'm telling you. And they needed it. Look, I mean, they really needed it. Then DeMar DeRozan had 44 in this game, and he was an afterthought.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. An afterthought with 44. And then there were a couple other performances on the night. Oh, a guy by the name of LeBron James had a typical 43, 11, and 6 game, typical. And then, of course, Klay Thompson in double overtime against Atlanta poured in 54 points. Can we stop with the whole Klay Thompson is an off-ball scorer and spot-up shooter stuff? Like, you don't get 54 points by being just a spot-up shooter.
And he wasn't yesterday.
No, he wasn't. That's what I mean. He's capable of being so much more than that. His general role makes him that, but his capabilities have always been there to be much more of a dynamic scorer.
And he was everything he had to be last night.
Yeah, he was. He was incredible. I mean, he just poured it in all over the place, and he didn't shoot his best game either, but he just kept shooting. And sometimes that's what you need. Look, sometimes it's about volume and pure
Yeah.
production levels versus efficiency. Efficiency is wonderful. You want efficiency, but sometimes you just need points. I mean, look, they don't the final score is determined by the total number of points, not by how effectively you score them.
And well, two other people last night. Dante DiVincenzo.
The Italian stallion.
The play to end the first overtime was falling apart as Poole was trying to work extra hard to get off a shot while being double teamed, which is never the smartest thing to do. And of course, the shot was blocked and the ball was tapped by someone, and DiVincenzo caught it and fired it right before the buzzer. And of course, straight in the tying three.
Because why not?
He's been hitting a lot of clutch shots for them lately.
Yes.
He's had to play.
Yes.
And Kevon Looney.
Oh, he was
again,
a beast.
The winning shot was missed. It was Looney with his 20th rebound, getting it off to Karam and putting it in at the buzzer to win the game.
Shades of Lorenzo Charles.
That was a fun game.
Yes.
It was a fun game.
It was
Atlanta wouldn't go away.
Nope.
DeJounte Murray was excellent.
He's one of my favorite guards in the NBA. I think he's absolutely awesome.
He had 25, 10, and 7. Trae Young had one of his better games. He had 30 and 14. Bogdan Bogdanović came off the bench with 21. John Collins had 25 and 13. It was nice to see him wake up.
Yes. There was a lot of good stuff in this game. Like you said, there was so many good elements to this game. It was absolutely unbelievable.
It was fun to watch what I saw of it. I was going back and forth waiting, with the football game, waiting for any updates.
Yeah, no, that was, of course, the main focus of last night, unfortunately, but understandably, was the injury with Hamlin. I mean,
right.
And you know what was unfortunate too, beyond just the obvious of his situation, is this was probably I saw a lot of excitement from the social interwebs going into this game as just a virtual playoff game for both teams and two teams that are playing great. I mean, the sad thing for the sports fan is that because of what happened, what could have been one of the better Monday night games in recent memory turns into one of the worst memories in recent times.
Yeah.
It's amazing how life can just throw a curveball at you and then boom, you can turn, they always say turning lemons into lemonade. Well, you can turn lemonade into lemons just as easily. And that's what happened last night.
That happened yesterday.
Yep. That's right.
But I was on social a lot, mostly through the night. And I did not have a conversation with anyone that didn't feel they made the right move.
Yeah, it certainly was the most prudent thing to do. There's no question about it. I mean, that was pretty prudent for them. So
yeah, when someone's life is in the balance, it's a little different than someone who just gets an injury. Injuries happen all the time.
That's true.
Would never want to see a game stop, for one. I mean, until someone's, taken care of.
Right. And so a lot of stuff. Obviously, it's something we'll keep an eye on throughout the show. We'll see if we get any new updates. What was interesting is the first update I read of Substance was, and really the last one, was from one of his personal friends that made its way around Facebook. So
Jordan Rooney.
Yeah.
Yeah, he works a lot with college kids and NIL people. He's a marketer.
So I guess,
and a very good one, and he cares about all his clients, and he does a lot of work for all of them and gets them good opportunities. And yeah, when he said it was someone questioned, "Who are you?" And I'm laughing when I read somebody say that. Hey, I'm like, you want to know who he is?
Yeah.
He knows the guy a hell of a lot better than you do. So shut up.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, that was the first one I saw came out.
Yeah.
Then the Bills released theirs a little after 1:30.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because all Damar Hamlin wanted to do was raise $2,500 on his charity.
Yep.
To get kids toys for Christmas. It's over 3 million now.
Jeez.
Well, Bill's Mafia steps up and does this kind of stuff all the time. But when I saw some of the names on the list, because I made a small donation, and I saw some of the names on the list, and a couple of them were pretty interesting. Christian McCaffrey was one of the highest donors.
Yes.
J.J. Watt was a high donor. Some NBA players.
Was this you said these were toys for Christmas?
Yes.
Was this up like well before this? Because
Yes.
obviously Christmas is past. I'm just trying to.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, he just wanted $2,500 to get some kids at a local orphanage toys.
Well, I think you can get a lot of toys for $3 million.
Yeah, he'll do a lot for a lot more people, according to his publicist.
And so let's hope he gets better. And there we go. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. Let's do our power rankings. We'll finish up the hour with that and a little NHL news, and we'll continue on from there. We got the top 5, of course, later in hour 2. So that's what's going on the rest of the way. It's the Gary Ayd Show, back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
Okay, so we are back, and let's go ahead and do our NBA power rankings. Been teasing this for a few days.
Yes, you have. I guess I'm going first.
That seems to be our power ranking order. It seems to be how it goes.
All right. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
I'll start off. Number 1, I have the Denver Nuggets.
Interesting.
I go by what teams have done in that past week and where they are.
Okay. Yep.
They won 6-1 on a stretch where they played 7 straight games against teams that have winning records. Their one loss in Sacramento the other night came by a point.
Yeah, that was a wild game.
It was. Jokic is 27-4, 10.9 rebounds, and 11.4 assists in this streak, scoring 123.6 points per 100 possessions with him on the floor. The minutes without him are still just a bit shaky, but Bones Highland and Michael Porter Jr. stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
And they will need that. Jamal Murray missed a couple games. But they're playing extremely good basketball. I struggled with number 2, but I had to put the Brooklyn Nets there. They've won 12 in a row.
Yep. They're hard to ignore it too.
They're the hottest team in the league. They're 12-7 on the road. Their fast break points per game are up almost 3 points a game from last year. Jacques Vaughn has made a major difference on that team.
Yeah, Jacques Vaughn is right now, I would say, I know he's only been there for a part of the season, but I would say he's probably the most impactful coach we've had so far.
True.
I mean, he's been amazing this year.
He has. He's done a great job.
Austin tells us Aaron Gordon's been playing well for Denver. That's true as well.
He has. He has. On both ends. I've really, and Christmas Day, we talked about it, was his personal dunk fest.
Yes.
That was incredible.
Yes. He went crazy on Christmas.
And he is playing extremely well. The Nets have to go on the road for a bit, so let's see. They have a good record on the road, but let's see if they hold up. Number 3, and I found it hard to put this team at number 3, not number 2. But if I go by what they've done for me lately, it's the Celtics.
Yep.
Through the end of November, they had like one of the best offenses ever.
Oh, they were amazing.
They were averaging like 121.5 points per 100 possessions. Then since December 1st, they ranked 26th. It's been mostly 3-point shooting. And the few times I've seen them play in December, they're just jacking it up. And their percentage went from 41 to 32.5.
Yeah, it's not good. They're not getting good shots anymore.
They've dropped a little off the mid-range too, but 3-point shooting has been awful. And they're forcing too many up and not running their offense. Free throw shooting dropped a little bit. Now defensively, they have Robert Williams III back, but they need a little more effort defensively. They in that Denver game, they couldn't gain enough offensive advantages, and they couldn't stop the Nuggets no matter what they did.
No, the Nuggets did whatever they wanted. I mean, Nuggets offense is a thing of beauty. It's poetry in motion. It really is.
But the Celtics are 4-3 at the time I wrote this, which was before yesterday, in Western Conference games. Number 4, I have the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
They have a huge points in the paint differential. And when your point guard scores a lot of points in the paint.
That's, the first guy I remember that being a thing for where it was like really tracked in a story. The first point guard was Tony Parker. I remember there was a stretch where he led the league in scoring in the paint like 5 years in a row or something like that.
Yeah. Jaren Jackson Jr. is blocking shots. He's been tough inside. He has more blocks on the year than fouls. So his ability to stay on the floor is critical. And They've allowed 101.3 points per 100 possessions. That's amazing. This is where I had trouble. 5 through 10.
5 through 10. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, they're bunched up. I mean, you mentioned the best ones. What about let me ask you about a particular team. What about Milwaukee? What do you have them?
They're in there, but they're down.
Yeah.
Because they're just not playing well.
They're not.
Let me blow through these real quick. I'm
Yep.
taking up way too much of your time. 5th, I have the Pelicans. Since Zion's been back, his offensive post game is just incredible. He's got to finish a little better, and he's working on it. They're inconsistent because they had their best and worst offensive and defensive games in the past 2 weeks. But they're just getting so much better, and I see them with Brandon Ingram coming back being
they're really good. I agree there.
Really good. 6, I have the Cavs. They have the league's number 1 defense, despite the fact they lost a couple games in a row. They bother me a little in transition, which is why they lost to Brooklyn. Points in transition killed them. They also did it against the Bulls too, but they allow less points per possession than the league average. And everyone said, well, watch those defensive numbers go down with Mobley out. Hey, guess what? The Cavs have allowed just 97.5 points per 100 possessions.
Yep.
In 228 minutes with Kevin Love and Jared Allen on the floor together. Perfect. I have the Bucks 7th. Have them moving down. They barely beat the Wolves. Then they had lost 4 straight games before that.
And when you look at their splits, they're not like their record is far better than their metrics. They seem to win games, but their metrics are not good. They don't shoot particularly well. They're not an elite defensive team. Everything about their numbers says mediocre, but yet they're have like a 10 or 11 game over 500 type of record.
Right. And they do it because they have a player who can make plays at the end.
Right.
And what was the tell-all for that was the other night when Giannis didn't play at all, and they scored a whopping 95 points.
Oops. Yeah, he's kind of important.
Number 8, I have the 76ers. Tyrese Maxey's back, and that's probably going to go up from here.
Yes.
They stuck with the starting lineup, though, with him out. They went with DeAnthony Melton, and it worked pretty well. It did hurt their bench, but their defensive numbers are bad. They're allowing a lot more points than they should be when you have Joel Embiid in the middle. And I don't like the substitution patterns, and I don't like the defensive rotations. And I don't completely blame the players for that. All I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to hop on that wagon today. 9th, I have the Sacramento Kings. Man, are they fun to watch.
Oh, they are really good.
They score like 125 points per 100 possessions, so they have for a while. Defensively, they can be a train wreck.
Yes.
But man, with Murray and Sabonis and Fox and Harrison Barnes, this is an interesting team to watch. And I didn't think I'd say that the Sacramento Kings were must-watch TV. But they have been.
They're one of the more fun teams to watch in the NBA right now. They definitely are.
Number 10, as tempted as I was to put the Clippers up there, I didn't. Because Dallas is just better.
Dallas rounds out your top 10.
Very good offensive rating, mediocre defensive rating. They don't play at a great pace, which means your numbers aren't going to look as good. But if you go by possessions, they're solid. Over that Mavs 6-game winning streak, Doncic 42.2, 10.8 rebounds, 10.2 assists, and 2.5 steals. Shot 59% from the floor, 47% from 3-point range. With that high of a usage rate, to have that high of numbers, there's only 2 players that have done better than that in any stretch this season. Joel Embiid and James Harden. Harden wasn't this year.
Right. That was a couple of years ago, right?
But Embiid's at his best, so.
Yes. All right. So, all right. Well, let me give you mine real quick. So, number 1, I gotta go. I agree with you on Denver. When I think about it, to me, it came down to Denver and Boston. I generally think Boston's the better team. They're not playing like it right now. And I kind of do this a little differently. I usually take more of a prognosticating approach to it. I try to mix in how I think it's going to shake out with what I'm watching today. But because I take a mixed approach with those 2 factors, Denver's playing good right now, Boston's not, and Denver's close enough in terms of what I think they ultimately can and will be to Boston that the momentary improvement in playing is carrying the day for me. So that's why they get my top spot. That, of course, means Boston's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go. I agree with you with Memphis. I have them at 3 as well. I just think that they're such a cohesive team. They just play so perfectly together. The pieces all just fit brilliantly. So I'm a big fan of that roster. Number 4, I'm going to go off the reservation here a little bit. But number 4, I'm going to go with Milwaukee, even though they have not played
you got some
great.
hate for Brooklyn, don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, Brooklyn's playing really, really good right now, but it's, I'm not.
These change every week, though.
They do.
For me, that's what counts.
Yeah.
How they're playing now.
Yeah. See, I take week to week. I take more of a blended approach, like I was just saying. I have Brooklyn at 5. I don't have them outside the top 5, but Milwaukee's track record and Giannis's singular amazingness, I'm not comfortable putting them further down the list, even though, like I was saying a minute ago, metrically speaking, they have earned to be further down the list. There's no question about that, but I'm just not going there. I got Brooklyn at 5. Their winning streak is impressive. I still have questions about their long-term depth and defensive versatility in a playoff matchup with a capable team. But certainly in the regular season, I think Jacques Vaughn has instilled a formula that will win them a lot of games in the regular season and probably will win them a round or 2 in the playoffs. I still do question the complementary pieces being good enough long term, but right now I have them in the top 5. I have them at 5th. Number 6, that leaves me with a toss up between New Orleans and Philadelphia. I'm going to go with Philadelphia. Zion's hurt again. We'll see how serious it is. Doesn't sound too bad, but I think I just trust Embiid a little bit more than I trust New Orleans, mostly because of experience and maturity. So I'm going to go with Philly at 6. That leaves, at 7. I had Memphis at 6. I have Philly at 7. That leaves New Orleans for me at 8. My final 2 spots, couple of teams in contention. Dallas is in contention. Certainly, the Suns would have been in contention, but I think they're out of my top 10 right now for the time being. They just are not playing good, and I don't know that. I feel like they've already peaked in the last couple of years. I'm gonna go with Cleveland though at number what is this, number 9? I'm gonna go with Cleveland at number 9. They have so many injuries right now, but they have Spider Mitchell, which, as we saw last night, sometimes is all it takes. And number 10 is a toss-up between Dallas, Sacramento, and LA for me. The Clippers, that is. I'm going to go with Dallas because of Luka. No other reason. I think the Kings are probably a better roster of talent, but Luka just makes up for a lot. So I'm going with Luka and the Mavs at 10.
He's Luka.
Yes. So.
And yeah, that's pretty good. I was just surprised you had Cleveland. You had Cleveland considerably lower than I did.
Yeah, you know what it is I haven't seen him do it in a big way, and also blending the current, like, right here today philosophy, they have so many key injuries, and that concerns me. I mean, I know, they've managed to win some games in spite of it, and you went through some of the numbers before, but
I don't think Mobley's going to be out that long.
that's the thing is that they're, hopefully he's not out too long. But yes, I had Cleveland a little lower. I had Milwaukee maybe a little higher. But yeah, I think ultimately Boston and Denver, man, that would be one hell of a finals if we could just have that, wouldn't it? That would be great.
Yeah, it would. It would.
That would be awesome.
I know a lot of people that want to see Brooklyn and Boston too, and it might be a fun series.
That would be really interesting.
I think it would. I just think the Celtics have so much depth.
They're the top to bottom, like Austin was saying in the chats a while back, top to bottom. I really just think that that's the best roster in the NBA. Boston, that is.
And as I was putting this together, I felt I reached with Sacramento a little bit. But who was I going to put in there? The Suns? They're doing nothing for me. What did I tell you about the Knicks?
Hey, well, let's talk about that. We got a couple of minutes here.
I said I don't care about the injuries.
No.
Although one wasn't an injury.
It's true.
Thank you, Babylon B, for telling me that.
Yes. Jalen Brunson. Yeah,
Jalen Brunson was going to be doubtful.
How good is Julius Randle? I might have to reevaluate what he's capable of. I mean, this guy for like almost 20 games now has been averaging like 27 and 12.
It's up to him completely. Is he going to jack up threes all day, or is he going to do work? When he does work and combines his outside game with an inside game, he's really good. When he jacks up 7 or 8 threes, he's there.
He becomes average, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of
his post moves are really good.
Well, that's one of the shortcomings of the modern NBA and the modern style is it has the tendency to turn a player like Randle, unless they have like incredible discipline and self-control, which is hard to achieve. It turns a player like Randle, who is a physical specimen. I mean, this guy is built like a brick wall. And
he's still a good athlete.
He's a very good athlete. But it has a tendency to turn a guy like that into basically a spot up shooter, and that's just such a waste.
Yeah.
I always go back to my first example of this that I really noticed was when Mike D'Antoni took over the Lakers and turned Pau Gasol into a corner specialist. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't even look right.
No, could Gasol shoot from out there?
Of course he could.
But where was he most effective?
Yeah, that was one of 9 or 10 things he could do. And it was, if you ranked his aptitudes, it was probably 9th or 10th on the list. But yeah, so I mean, but kudos to Randle. The reason I bring that up is because I feel like Randle has learned the type of discipline it takes to, as you were just saying, Rich, harness that capability to shoot threes with the realization that it has to be a piece of your approach, not the primary piece, or certainly not the only piece.
Right.
And
man,
he's good.
He abused DeAndre Ayton all day.
Killed him. I mean, just on rebounding alone, he absolutely murdered them. Ayton could get no rebounds. None.
Yeah, someone told me Ayton had a pretty good game. Wasn't he like 14 and 8? And I'm like, if that's good for a guy that size, okay, but it's not.
Randle had what?
26 and
16 or
27
something like
and 16.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton, if he ever gets a vote for an all defensive team, the voter should be revoked. I mean, this guy is. This is why I had the issues with the Suns signing him, and I would have really tried to see what I could have gotten for him because he's an awful defensive player. He's disinterested in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, there were guys like that in the league that just seem like they're there because they can be, because they're good at it and they
Well,
can
who's
make
going to
money.
turn down the paycheck?
Right, exactly. Of course not. We're hearing some comments here. Really glad that the Pacers didn't give up Hield and Turner for Ayton. I totally
That
understand
was
why.
a conversation too.
Yep. Very. I totally agree. Makes total sense.
I feel bad for the Suns for not making that move.
Yes.
And I think it's good for the Pacers that they didn't.
Yeah. Well, Turner is a junkyard dog. He really is. There you go. Right behind him with my statement. Yeah, what the Turner's defense would have done for the Suns. Yeah, I mean, it would have. And then you added another shooter like Hield on a team with that many shooters. I'm surprised, speaking of the Suns for a second, I'm surprised we've not had a resolution to the Jay Crowder thing yet. It's amazing how much the Suns are overvaluing him.
They're asking way too much for a mediocre player.
It's crazy. Like, it's total crazy talk. Like, I understand having a guy under contract, you're not in any rush to trade him. I understand, trying to hold out for the best offer, but that works to a point. You still have to work in the real world. And in the real world, they're looking for 2 number ones? I heard
they're looking for either 2 number ones or a number 1 and a quality starter. No.
It's Jay Crowder.
No one's giving that up for him, especially at his age.
He's 33, whatever he is. 34.
He's not a kid anymore.
No, and he's a role player. I mean, he's a really good role player. I think there'd be about 20 teams that would love to have him, but at the right price. Maybe I could see if I'm a team like, let's say I'm Milwaukee, or I'm a team like Denver, I could see trading a number 1 pick for a guy like that because I have a chance to win a title, perhaps. That number 1 pick's not going to be high. And could I see trading like Torian Craig if I'm Phoenix? Oh, well, he's on Phoenix already. But could I see trading someone like a 5th starter or like a 7th man and a number 1 for Crowder if I'm on a team that could win? Yeah, I could see that because the number 1's basically a number 2 anyway.
If the pick's 20 or higher, or lower, do it.
Yeah, but
but I wouldn't trade a mid number 1.
No, if I'm a team like, I don't know, let's say I'm
Sacramento,
right? I'm not trading my pick for that. Right, that's a good example. No. We might make the playoffs. We might just miss it. I mean, we're probably going to make the playoffs, but we're going to be about 500, give or take. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's, I don't know what's taking Phoenix so long to just trade the guy.
It's what Austin said. It's crazy what Turner's defense would have done for the Suns.
Yep.
How about Hield at a time where they don't have Booker?
Yeah. No.
How much that would have helped.
Absolutely. Honestly, Jay Crowder would help them a lot right now.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't want to be there for some reason.
Yeah. Yep.
I wish he'd say why.
What I had heard when it first went down was that he was unhappy that he was having to compete for his starting job with Saric, I believe it was.
So you go out and beat him for the job. You don't whine and say, I'm going to sit.
That's what I think.
And they shouldn't be paying him for this.
Yeah, that I don't know what the deal is with that.
Shouldn't be. You decided not to compete. Yep. You're suspended without pay.
That's it. That's all there is to it.
Show up and go to work. And he should be able to beat out Dario Saric anyway. At his age, because Saric isn't even 100% yet.
Yeah, that's anyway, there you have it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got hour 2 around the corner, top 5 news you can use. Got to look in the NHL, a few other things to get to as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show, back after this here on The Cave. All righty, welcome back. Hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com, and the Cave Talk Radio app for Apple and Android, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and extra coffee for Anselmo today. Hamlin's got his toy drive. We need the coffee drive for Rich today. Although we saw the light during the break, we have light now.
Yes.
Is zombie mode enacted, but with light.
Come on, look at me. I look like a homeless person this morning.
Come on.
God.
We need some of that noble coffee.
I got this beard growth.
I'm telling you, man.
Now, I got a good dark Italian roast going.
Lavazza, whatever. Was it that one? Yeah, that's good stuff.
Exactly what I'm going to be doing all day.
Oh, that's like an IV of coffee right there.
So you know I have a very good friend who's a scout, an NFL scout.
Yes.
And he kind of turned me on to Hamlin when he was in college and said someone's going to get this kid in a later round. And I said he's going to make an NFL team and contribute. And he made an NFL team.
Yep.
He didn't have to play last year. I mean, they had Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde.
Yes.
There's not a lot of room for backup safeties. But he played to the point where after about 4 weeks of him starting, people weren't asking where Hyde was anymore.
That's right.
And it was nice to see. And the only reason I bring that up is because I was on the phone with him around 3 this morning.
Oh, man.
And, well, he's an insomniac anyway. And he was really bothered by the whole thing because he said he meets a lot of people on campuses, and this was a great kid. And that's the part that just bothered me the most. And Colombian coffee is awesome.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes, absolutely. It's good stuff. My mom was actually in Colombia, the country, relatively recently, and like around Thanksgiving, actually. And she brought me back a batch, and
oh man,
I was actually, believe it or not, disappointed. But I found out why. Apparently, and this actually makes sense. Apparently, all of their good quality stuff is actually not available for purchase in the country because it's all exported to external markets because that's their primary cash flow. Well, that's how they sustain their economy.
Right.
So so like I was like, so I got like the leftovers. That's unfortunate.
Come for the coffee, leave for the communism.
That's
okay.
Right. That's right. It's like, come on.
Oh man.
Oh, that's awful. All right. Well,
Colombian coffee is a treat.
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, it really is.
Let's play off yesterday's theme for the top 5.
Okay, let's do it. What do we got?
Do basketball today.
Oh, contracts.
Your top 5 worst basketball contracts ever.
Everything
could be ones you just hated.
Okay.
For a team, or ones that you just know are awful.
Every contract Isaiah Thomas signed as general manager of the Knicks.
Okay, rank them.
Oh God. We're gonna do 2 separate top 5s today. We got Isaiah Thomas and everyone else.
Okay.
Well, because no, seriously.
Hold all the Isaiah ones for tomorrow. I'm giving you a little heads up on tomorrow.
Okay.
Do your top 5 non-Isaiah Thomas bad contracts. Tear.
Oh my God, it's so bad that we can do that.
We've worked it out as a team. Look at that.
Oh gosh. All right, let's see. Timothy Mozgov was a pretty bad contract for Denver.
Oh,
that's why he was at the game the other night. He's there earning his money back because they're like, yo, you didn't earn this. You didn't earn that money, man. Come on. You
didn't earn it with the Cavs either.
No. Well, he was traded. I forget. Did Cleveland sign that contract or did Denver? Because he played for both teams during it. I forget who originated that contract.
I think Cleveland did, but I'm going to look while you're
so whoever
contemplating
whoever that was, just let me know when you find it. Whoever that was, that's on them. That's a bad one. Another bad one that comes to mind, although I understood, actually Mozgov and this guy I'm about to say, the same market factors caused it. But Mike Conley's contract with Memphis was prohibitively expensive. And Mike Conley was a very good player, an all-star even, but he was paid like top of the league. And the reason for that, there was the same offseason that Mozgov got the contract I was just talking about. The salary cap had gone up exponentially year over year. And what people don't understand, there's also a salary floor, which is usually like 90 or 95% of the cap. So if you don't hit that floor, every dollar you're under that floor, you have to make a contribution. Like it's a fine, basically a built-in fining system. So teams that were like aggressively pursuing cap space under the old cap and achieved that suddenly now have 40% more additional cap space than what they had planned on. So consequently, what they end up doing is they end up, overpaying one of their guys because otherwise it's just going to be money thrown in the garbage anyway. So there was a little bit of a built-in reason for why that happened, but in an absolute sense, they were still bad contracts.
Okay, Timofey Mozgov.
Yes.
He signed that contract with Denver.
Okay,
He
it was
stayed
Denver. I
in
thought
Denver.
it was.
He stayed in Denver
Couple
for
years.
4 years.
Yep.
Went to Cleveland the year they won the title. So Mozgov got a ring.
Got a
along
ring.
with
Thanks.
Sasha Khan.
Got a ring thanks to the king.
Yep. Went to the Lakers, to the Nets, and now he's in his third stint back in Russia at 36 years old and still playing.
Russia.
Timofey Mozgov.
Timofey Mozgov. Austin, very active today in the chats, mentioned Matthew Dellavedova and saying one thing LeBron does do is he gets mediocre players paid. That is true. I have a mediocre player, LeBron acolyte, to throw out there. The legendary, the incomparable, the genius Sacramento Kings got the absolutely unavoidable luxury of Mikey Moore.
For a 6-year deal. That's
Boom.
Right.
And Mikey Moore had in his contract 20% goes to my agent, LeBron James. No, he doesn't represent me, but he made me look like I belong in the NBA for 4 years. And now, boom, I got paid. Mikey Moore is probably my favorite of all the LeBron mediocre guys from those earlier years that made a career out of basically, well, I played with LeBron for a little while, so people think I'm good. Larry Bird was discussing this at one point. He said something to the effect of, you got to be careful when he was still in charge with Indiana. He said, you got to be careful with the guys in Cleveland. He said, LeBron makes them look good. They're not really that good. Something to that effect.
And they weren't.
He's like, it's not the same because when we sign this guy, LeBron's not coming with them. He's not going to play the same way.
And if you sign that guy to that kind of money, you're going to ask him to do more than he's doing now.
Right. Exactly. So,
and most of those guys were incapable
of
going to
incapable.
that next level.
No,
they couldn't all of a sudden do more.
No,
they were okay because they were doing less.
I don't know. This goes into the category of I couldn't stand this player. I don't think he ever signed a ridiculous contract, but the fact that DJ Benda even had an NBA career confuses me. Like the fact that he was even here for 5 years doesn't make sense.
God, could you be any more red? That is great. I forgot all about him, and with good reason.
Well, that's perfectly understandable. It's probably even healthy.
I forgot he was even in the league.
Like, this guy was just there for years for no reason. He served no purpose.
Oh, wow.
Around that same time period, I think just before the infamous Benda, was Chris Mim, who actually did get a pretty fat contract with the Lakers, all things considered, and he wasn't very good.
He was a backup that got paid a little too well to be a backup.
Yes, and was masquerading as a starter.
Didn't he go on one spurt before that with the Lakers? Before he was with the Lakers, where he had about 1 week where he played averaged like 17 and 10.
Maybe it was like Vancouver or someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, And yeah, it's very so let's see, who else do we got? You have I mean, there's just a lot of guys. I'm trying to think of the non-Isaiah types because there's so many that come to mind with him just by himself. Oh, you know who was a terrible contract?
Save those.
Oh, I am. You know what ended up being a terrible contract? I almost feel bad including this because it was just by injury and circumstance, but the Grant Hill contract with Orlando was an albatross.
It was.
You know, I mean, it certainly wouldn't have been had he just stayed healthy. I mean, Grant Hill was a all-time great talent. I mean,
right.
You know, but it worked out that way, so I guess you have to include it.
Mario Chalmers.
Mario Chalmers. Well,
I used to call him the superintendent.
The super.
It's a Simpsons reference.
Oh, I thought we were talking Mario because he kind of looks like a superintendent. I thought we were talking about Nintendo.
No. It's a Simpsons reference. The school superintendent was Superintendent Chalmers.
Ah, okay. Nice. Let's see what else we got. Some other bad ones. What about you know what? For a while, I remember Theo Ratcliffe was always getting traded because like he was on an expiring contract with a big cap number for like it felt like 10 years in a row.
He signed a long deal, and he wasn't that kind of player that was going to be good for very long.
Right.
And he proved it.
Yep. He became
That's a good one.
He became like the permanent trading chip to make salary numbers work.
Yes.
He got traded to like 100
a
teams. Yes. He was a trading chip. You're a stock. We're just gonna move you around as needed. Part of the portfolio.
That stock turned into crypto after about the first two trades.
Oh yes, Dogecoin. Oh God. All right, we'll come up.
Dogecoin was a joke.
Yes. Not as big as the FTX. Oops.
No.
Whoopsies.
And not too soon.
Yeah, whoopsies. Yeah, that guy's like getting ready for his trial right now, though.
Yeah.
Friedman or whatever his name was.
I had one of those, not Dogecoin. It was a different one. And
was it Imperium?
When I got it, Ethereum.
Ethereum, yeah.
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 When I got it, it shot up and I dumped it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was my one foray and last foray.
1 for 1.
Crypto.
Good job. He asked about what we're asking about Russell Westbrook's contract.
At the time, that was a contract that went with a guy of that stature.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's
a bad contract.
Yeah, it worked out that way, similar to what we were just talking about with Grant Hill. But it wasn't like most of these that are going to make my final cut, or probably all of them, were contracts that were foreseeably stupid. Like, you know, like I give teams grace for things that are not easily foreseen. Like, for example, everyone bangs on Portland for taking Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan. Well, they had Clyde Drexler, who to this day, if you were to rank the best shooting guards in NBA history, you wouldn't go too far beyond Jordan's name before you got to Drexler's name.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's hard to blame them for not drafting a guy who resembled the guy they already had. I kind of feel,
although Portland's history with big centers, LaRue Martin, Greg Oden, I mean,
well, Greg Oden hadn't happened yet at that point, obviously.
Right, but I mean that was it's all part of that history.
It is.
Who knew Sam Bowie was going to be made of cheap peanut brittle?
Who knew he was going to be Anthony Davis's dad?
Because because in Bowie's rookie year, he was actually pretty good.
Yes, he was. I mean, he was a good player.
Then he fell apart.
You know, speaking of Anthony Davis, I got a funny story. So I'm in the grocery store the other day, and you know how like these different like cereals and chips have like pictures of athletes on them?
You sent it
I
to
sent
me.
this to you. Yes, it has a picture of Anthony Davis on the a bag of Ruffles potato chips. I texted it to Rich. I said every chip in this bag is broken. That's why they put Davis's face on it. Okay, all right. There we go. Yep. So a statement from the NFL. All right, we'll get to that in a second. You can read that if you're watching live. We'll read it to the radio audience will read this statement that just came in from the NFL momentarily. Let's wrap up this top 5 real quick before we get to that. All right, let's put these in some kind of order. Let's put them out there and rank them.
Rank them.
Number 1, I think it has to be Mozgov. He was a backup center who got paid $80 million at a time where that was like a whole crap ton of money. And like, it just didn't make sense. Like it really just didn't make sense. This guy was basically, he was essentially Chris Mim all over again, a little bit better, but like, he was just kind of a guy. It just didn't make sense.
He's a guy with a ring.
Oh, he's got a ring thanks to the king. That's right. It has a good ring to it. Pun intended. Let's see.
Him and Sasha Khan, who came over from Israel. He graduated from Kansas and went over to Europe. He came over from Israel and he occupied the seat next to Mozgov on the bench.
There we go.
Neither of them got in games, but they were just two big guys on the bench.
They were just goons. Let's see. Personal animosity aside, I'm not going to put DJ Bender at number 2, although I'm tempted. We're going to go Mike Conley at number 2. It was just, he was like for a couple of years, the highest paid player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Which, like, I laid out the reasons why it happened while it was, somewhat justifiable by the momentary economics. It still was like, okay, like, could you not just give everyone in your roster like a raise and just say, like, let's not completely overpay Conley? But that's what they did. So I'm going to put that one at number 2. Number 3, I got to go with the Grant Hill contract. Even though it really wasn't their fault. The way it worked out, it really handcuffed that team for a lot of years.
It did.
It was not an easy thing for them to work out of. So that one's going to go number 3. Number 4 for me. All right, now I'm going with DJ Bender. Hell with it. He's making the list.
I actually did forget he occupied a seat on a bench for 5
What
years.
A waste of space. That's all he was. And number 5, a couple different names I could go with here. But I think Mikey Moore takes the cake.
That was a big contract for the time.
It really was.
And 6 years of it, too.
And he was just a blah player. He had cool hair, though.
He did. He had a fine fro working.
Yes, a fro, and then he had the long hair at one point. Like he had the couple different styles.
Braided and long in the back.
Yes.
I think he was with the Pistons then.
Yes.
He got around.
Oh, talking about the Pistons, honorable mention. We didn't mention this guy. What about Louis Osmondson or whatever his name was, the big blonde power forward guy?
Oh my God,
Amundsen, yes. You can tell I've watched too much basketball.
That big contract sat on NBA benches for 7 more years.
Chris Kaman was another one that had a huge contract for a while. He was at least good when he was healthy, but he had a lot of injury problems too.
Yeah.
But
the John Koncak Award is alive and well.
It is. So there's your top 5. That's an interesting one. And tomorrow, Isaiah Thomas contracts only.
Oh, this should be great.
That's how bad of a GM this guy was, kids. If you don't remember the Isaiah Thomas years with the Knicks, good for you. If you do remember it, I'm sorry. Yes, it hurts. But at least we can laugh about it and make fun of it now, 20 years in the rearview mirror, because there's a lot to laugh and make fun about.
Yes, there is.
That's why it gets its own top 5. There's all kinds of goodies there. So we'll get to that tomorrow. Before we take this break, let's read the statement real quick sent to us by Dylan. Statement from the NFL Referees Association. This is on, of course, Damar Hamlin, who remains hospitalized after collapsing Monday night in Cincinnati. Quote, like the players and coaches, our officials fully supported the suspension of this game as all attention needed to be focused on Damar's health. Okay, end quote. Okay, so safe, concise statement. Nothing really crazy there. It's just one of those things, like I said before, you can't do anything anyway, other than keep praying for the guy and hope he pulls through. There's nothing else really to do. So I'm not sure what attention needs to be paid to it. I mean, like there's nothing to do. That's the thing is, and that's the thing that sucks about these situations is you feel helpless because there is nothing to do.
Right.
I mean, we've all been through this situation in a more personal, intimate level with a loved one at one point or another, and there's nothing you can do, and it
Nothing
sucks.
at all.
Which is why, like, when my own father died in 2020, he died on the Monday, November 2nd. I went and sat with his dead body at 9:00. By 12:30, I was working. I worked the same day. I worked a full day, basically.
There's nothing you can do.
What can you do?
And I went through it a couple of years ago. There's
with your mother.
nothing you can do. Yes.
And that is the basis for why I said at the beginning that I would have understood the opposite decision had they played the game, because there's nothing else they could have done. Action-wise, the same amount of...
you have to take the players into consideration. I mean, players for both teams have reached out to their management and the Players Association and asked for some counselors to be in.
Right.
And I think it's a step that has to be taken.
And that's fine. And that's why I said I fully understand both decisions, because like in my own case, I didn't want to just be sitting around. Work was a distraction for me. And depending how you're wired, some people would rather be distracted from something. Others want to sit and dwell on it or stew in their emotions or reflect or whatever. That's why I was saying, to me, there's not a wrong way to handle this, because there are people like me out there who, when something awful like this happens, I want something that can consume my mental attention for a little while. That's what I'm looking for.
And some people just want to talk it out.
And some people want to talk it out. That's why I said both ways make sense to me. But the NFL did what they did, and it makes sense, like I said. So, like I said, we sit and wait, and this is the part that sucks. You can't do anything. There's nothing to do except hope.
Even though I knew it was coming, I had to talk to someone.
Yep. Well, yeah, and of course, I mean, it's not like I didn't talk to anybody, but like, I'm not gonna talk to someone, all day, every day. Like, I obviously talked to my mom a lot that day because obviously she was there. My wife, I talked to, a few people, but I also needed to occupy my time and my mental energy, because just sitting there and stewing on it, was just going to make me more upset. It wasn't going to accomplish anything, and that's how I felt about it. I remember going out to dinner that night with my buddy Rob. We went to Outback, and this is a place that my dad took us all the time. Rob and I go there on the 2nd of every month to kind of commemorate his life. We were there last night, in fact, when I was watching this Hamlin thing. But what was interesting is, my dad thought of Rob as a second son, and would often, he would take both of us to this Outback. So the night that my dad died, that Monday, I had a debit card that had actually my mom's name on it, but it was my dad's account that, if I needed money throughout college and stuff, he would send me money that way. He would just load it onto that account, and I would be able to withdraw it at an ATM or whatever. So I kept this card for a number of years after college, and I had it on me that night. And my dad had recently put in whatever, $60, $70, $80 or something. It was just in that account. And, we ended up paying for dinner that night with that card. And it was like the last time my dad took us out to dinner, kind of,
Oh, wow.
Because he had personally put that money there. So, that was sort of a big emotional thing. But, I made the choice to go on with my normal day-to-day life in the immediate aftermath of something like that. That was what worked for me.
My situation was hard because I couldn't be there.
Well, I couldn't be there with my dad either because of the COVID thing.
Yeah, and I actually went and talked to someone, an advisor who I trust a lot, and then I spent like part of the day, and because how hard it hit my daughter,
right,
I spent time with her. Then I spent part of the day just having coffee with friends.
And
just needing to be around people that made me comfortable.
Right, exactly. That was more or less.
And then I think the next day I was on with you.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and like the thing with my situation is like I wasn't able to see my dad either. The last time I had seen him alive, he was in a physical rehabilitation place, getting strength back in his legs to try to come home. And obviously COVID was going on. And so we weren't allowed inside. So we're standing outside of a window on our cell phones talking to him, looking at him through a window. And then a couple days later, when he dies in the same facility, same room, now we're allowed to go in wearing a hazmat suit basically and sit with the dead body. And there'll never be an explanation to me why we couldn't sit with the live body in the same damn jumpsuit that did nothing. You can't explain that to me.
The last day of her life, but I knew it was going to be the last day. I was in there in one of those hazmat suits.
Yeah, we didn't have
but she had no way of knowing I was there.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I had other issues too because they wouldn't let my daughter in. Yeah. They said so many people abuse the privilege. It's just immediate. I said, she's immediate and she's going in. Right. Try to stop me.
Yeah. Good for you.
And they did try to stop me. And
did they succeed?
They did not.
Good.
They did not. I told them they'd have to call the cops.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sometimes you just have to do that.
That would have been a really bad look for them if they did.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so to this day, I'll always hate Andrew Cuomo for that, because like there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to sit with my dad. If I'm able to sit with his dead body in the hazmat suit, why can't I sit with him and talk to him in the same damn suit?
Yeah,
like that makes that you can't explain that. There's no explanation for that. That's just pure stupidity, and I'll always hate them for it. So, but yeah,
I feel the same way because he did it.
Yeah,
basically.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, they talk about the lives he caused. They don't talk about a lot of the people in nursing homes that, because they lost any human contact, lost their faculties and then passed.
That's right. No, that's an excellent point. It's so true. That happened with my next door neighbor's father. Yeah, he was well into his 90s. I mean, there was no tragedy in his death, but he.
Well, my mother was old,
100,
very old. Yeah. But she was still sharp before all this crap.
Well, that's what same with Ray. Like he was, I don't know if I would use the term sharp, but he was certainly lucid. He was somewhat forgetful, but generally lucid. And after the COVID stuff, he definitely wasn't, and he went downhill very quickly. I think it had a lot to do with it. But anyway, yeah, so that's the latest on Hamlin. We'll see if anything breaks in the next 20-something minutes while we're still on the air. We'll certainly relay the message if it does. In the meantime, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got the radio question of the day, news you can use, and some NHL stuff the rest of the way. That's what's on tap. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
Alrighty, let's hit the radio question of the day.
Boys commit and girls quit. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-953-0866. 800-953-0866. 800-953-0866. That's 800-953-0866.
An Australian study conducted by Flinders University's Sport, Health, Activity, Performance and Exercise Research Center has determined that girls are more likely to quit sports than boys. Study lead, Professor Murray Drummond, says girls are less likely to take up sports than boys, and they drop out at a much faster rate than boys. The Canadian Women and Sports Rally Report has found low confidence is one of the most common barriers to girls' participation in sports. Question for parents. Have you or have you not noticed that girls are more likely to drop out of sports than boys?
Interesting question. Well, I'll answer this from a perspective of just an observer of sports. I think it's probably true. It sounds like it was a relatively comprehensive study, and I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I think one of them could be, there is a element of a young girl becoming a young woman that is, it's fairly common for lack of a better term, younger girls, prepubescent and early pubescent girls to be quote unquote tomboys. And then when they hit 16 or 17, their whole priorities and their whole outlook and their whole anatomy changes, and they become much less tomboyish and much more, into nails and makeup and other stuff that's maybe more traditionally viewed as women. And as a result, I think some of them just fall out of sports because historically that's not been identified with what they are now mentally preoccupied with at that age. And then later on, they become, that's just how it goes. So, you can't hear me? Hello? Yeah, apparently it's something with Rich here. Let's see. Did we lose him? Oh, looks like we lost Rich's connection. That's why. I was going to say. Here we go. So let's go ahead and get Rich back on. Looks like we lost him. Somehow the Skype connection dropped. That's all it was. So there we go. Sorry about that, Rich.
What happened?
Our connection dropped. Our phone line dropped. So
okay.
Did you hear the question or no?
No.
Okay. The question was, basically there was a study done showing that females have a higher likelihood of dropping out of sports than males, as their male counterparts. They mentioned confidence could be an issue, and then they asked from the perspective of a parent, but I'm giving a perspective as more of just a learned observer of sports. Have you noticed that to be the case, that women drop out of sports more frequently than men, girls and boys? I mean, because they were talking about younger, student age people. So what I had said was, my general take was that I think that there's a lot of reasons why that's probably the case. The study, from what they quoted, sounded fairly comprehensive, so I have no reason to doubt it. But what I think one thing that's a big factor is, for lack of a better word, girls who are, prepubescent and early puberty have a tendency to maybe be a little more tomboyish, and then later on in their lives, when they hit puberty and get into early high school and their mid-teens, a lot of them end up becoming a little bit more, for lack of a better word, feminine, in their approach, and sometimes, oftentimes, they view sports as not in line with those new things that they're mentally thinking about, whether it's makeup or nails or shopping or whatever it is. I know I'm being a little stereotypical here, but I think that that's where that comes from, though, because I mean, stereotypes are not made up out of thin air. They're based on observed behavior over a long period of time in some general way. But I do think that that has a lot to do with it. I think the way that we biologically and physiologically mature as the different genders has something to do with how our interests tend to diverge as we hit that maturity period of our lives. I do think that has something to do with it.
I don't disagree with that. I also think a lot of women, high school age, around that, are getting high school and college, I'll say, are turning away from it because they're tired of competing with other women who are not women.
That's another problem. Yeah, I mean, that's a more modern problem, a more the last handful of years problem, but no, that's an issue.
Right, but how many have lost scholarships and lost spots on teams for that reason?
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't happen. I mean,
Oh,
biological men
absolutely not.
shouldn't be competing in women's sports. It just, like I always say, 25 years ago, it was a comedy movie called Joanna Man. Now it's, a serious issue.
Now it's real.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Austin says, outside of gymnastics and tennis, what women's sports really pay the value to men's sports? Well, sports only pay value, quote unquote, money if you're one of the elite of the elite. I think the tenor of this question is more just your rank and file, youth sports, varsity sports, club sports. That's how I understood this question.
Right.
So
right.
Excluding pay, financial considerations, because that's not really applicable until the highest levels. I think there's a lot of other reasons why this happens. I think Rich hit a really good one. I think the one I brought up has a lot to do with it. And I think, look, kind of piggybacking sort of a corollary to my reason is, look, when you're in school, one of your key motivators in almost all cases is you are going to partake in activities that the people around you are partaking in. And if you're a female and you're surrounded by a lot of females, and they're not part of the sports scene, even if you were a couple of years ago, now you're running with a new crowd. Parents see this all the time. You'll see it all the time where, like, oh, growing up, he was this, and then he started hanging out with these people, and he became that, or she became that. That's part of this too. It's just who you start hanging out with after a certain age,
And that happens to girls and boys.
Oh, absolutely. That's not one way, of course. No, absolutely not. But it's just more likely that if boys are hanging with boys and girls are hanging with girls, it's more likely that the boys that boy is hanging with are into sports than the girl that the girl is hanging with is into sports, just statistically more likely. That's kind of what happens. That's part of it. Like I said, there's a lot of contributing factors here.
Right. And the value is not really a monetary value. It's an intrinsic
value. An intrinsic value. It is.
And it does a lot for a younger person's confidence.
Yep. And I also think that males are more likely to be first generation sports enthusiasts. Like, what I mean by that is, like, my family, for example, no one in my family, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my sister, no one was into sports. I created that interest organically for myself. That was something that I did as the first person in my family to be really into it. And I think that women, because society doesn't push them to sports as aggressively as it does men, I think women are more likely to remain involved in sports. I think it has a bigger impact on them, on their long-term involvement or non-involvement. The people that are around them, like their parents, and it is their family history. Are they from a sports family? I think that matters more to females than men, because society doesn't push females as aggressively towards sports as it does men. So I think that familial influence on them has a bigger deal.
But now, on the other hand, not playing, but you see more female sports fans.
Yes.
in all sports than ever before.
Yes. And yeah, that's true. And I think that's a testament, honestly, to the NFL. I think, like I was saying a couple days ago when we were going through the Christmas Day rating numbers for the NBA and the NFL, one of the things I said, one of the hallmarks of the NFL is that it is seen as such a community event every week that even non-traditional sports fans, casual fans, or just people that want to be part of the scene become observers of football. And I think that over time that has a trickle down effect where you're seeing non-traditional demographics, whether it be females, older people, people from other countries that don't maybe know the American sports landscape as much. You're seeing them gravitate to watching sports, I think, because of just the habit of watching the NFL. And I think that's having a trickle to other sports in other demographics. I think that's part of it too. Because NFL Sundays are like they're an event. They're not a sporting thing. They're an event. They're a social event. And people want to be involved in those.
Like I said, I've seen a ratio at basketball and hockey games too that has become a lot more female than they used to be.
Yes. Yes. I mean, our own listening demographics is 80% male, 20% female. This very show 15 years ago might very well have been 90-10 or even 95-5.
Right.
You know, so it's still heavily male dominated, but it's very much, it's like you said, it's certainly noticeable growth in the female demographic in the sports industry.
But not necessarily playing the sport.
Yeah, that was the part that wasn't clear from the survey is where those numbers are. That wasn't really outlined one way or the other. So I don't really know that, but it was talking specifically about dropout rate, not participation rate necessarily.
Okay.
So, and I think these are some of the reasons why you might see that. So anyway, that's interesting stuff.
That is interesting.
Very, very good conversation. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll take a look at the NHL and we'll do news you can use as we wrap up the last 10 minutes of the show. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty. What do we got for hit the NHL real quick, Rich, and then we'll hit news you can use.
Okay, yesterday in the NHL, the one game of importance was the outdoor game. It was at Fenway Park. The Bruins won 2-1. They got 2 third-period goals. The two coolest parts had nothing to do with the game. The Bruins came out in 1935 Boston Red Sox
That's
uniforms.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And they were throwing a baseball around for their warm up.
That's awesome.
The Penguins came out in old Pittsburgh Pirates uniforms too, and it was very, very cool.
That's
And
really cool.
there was no ceremonial puck drop. Bobby Orr did a puck shoot with another Boston legend, Jason Varitek, and he shot it right into Varitek's glove.
Oh, that's cool.
Very, very cool.
That's awesome.
And
How old is Bobby Orr now? He's got to be 80, right?
He is no kid. He's in his 70s.
Yeah.
But he looks good.
Yep.
A few games involving locals in the NHL tonight. Carolina Hurricanes come into the Garden to play the Rangers. Hurricanes have the second best record in the East. That should be a really good game. Sabres travel to Washington, and the Islanders are out on the West Coast to take on Vancouver.
There we have it. Okay.
And there you have it.
All right. Good stuff. Quick, before we do news you can use, got a quick notice from the family of Damar Hamlin. It's a statement released. So it goes like this. On behalf of our family, we want to express our sincere gratitude for the love and support shown to Damar during this challenging time. We are deeply moved by the prayers, kind words, and donations from fans around the country. We also want to acknowledge the dedicated first responders and healthcare professionals at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center who have provided exceptional care to Damar. We feel so blessed to be a part of the Buffalo Bills organization and to have their support. We also want to thank Coach Taylor and the Bengals for everything they've done. Your generosity and compassion mean the world to us. Please keep Damar in your prayers. We will release updates as soon as we have them. This is from the Hamlin family. Very nice statement. Yep, very nice
Very
statement.
nice.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, the Bills brought his mother there for that game. And it's a good thing she was there.
Yeah.
And yeah, many Bengals also were in the hospital last night after the game to see how he was doing, as well as, of course, Bills players that didn't go back to Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, there we have it. So, all right. Well, what do we got for any other news you can use? We got a couple of minutes here.
Got a couple of items.
Yep.
College basketball, we don't pay a lot of attention to. Rutgers beat number 1 Purdue last night by 1 point. Cam Spencer hit a game-winning three-pointer with 13 seconds left. Okay. Well, go back to last year. Purdue was number 1 then. Rutgers beat them with a late third-pointer, giving them their first loss. Rutgers is now 2-11 all-time versus number 1 teams, both wins in the last 2 years over Purdue. That's awesome.
That's really funny.
That is fantastic.
That's really funny.
We lost another NFL Hall of Famer last night, Art McNally.
Yeah, the referee. Yep.
Died at the age of 97. Condolences to his family.
Yes. Hell of a life.
Yes. Seahawks linebacker Jordan Brooks suffers an ACL injury.
Ouch.
A shame. And he was having a great year. He was one of the surprises on that team. Alabama quarterback Bryce Young declares for the 2023 NFL draft. Well, if you need a quarterback, he looks like a pretty good one.
Yes. Hell, are you listening, Jets?
He made a throw in the bowl game that, oh my God, not a lot of guys could have dropped that into that tight window.
Yeah.
And he was on the move before he threw that. That was an NFL throw. I think this kid's got something. You earlier mentioned LeBron James with ho-hum, another 43-point nights against the Hornets.
Yes.
The average that keeps rising is putting him on pace to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career scoring record in a month.
There we go. Early February.
I, for one, cannot wait to see that.
That's going to be a great day. I'm going to be curious to see the games, because, this is the type of thing that when he gets to within 60 points or so, that is conceivable in one game. Probably wouldn't be, but it's conceivable. So my guess is that there'll be a pretty noticeable spike in television audiences in the 2 or 3 games, leading up to it and including the game where it actually happens. Because I'm guessing once he gets within about 60 or so points, every game he watches, every game he plays from that point forward is going to be like people are going to be watching, wanting to see it happen live.
Well, they've never been afraid to put the Lakers on television. I think now's the time you can't stop.
Well, no, that's a fact.
You really need to.
That's an absolute
LeBron
fact.
was very good in his presser last night talking about the Hamlin injury and giving a lot of credit to both the Bills and the Bengals.
Yep. And give credit.
I got time.
Yeah, go ahead.
As well as the first responders.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very, very poignant. I have time for one more quick one.
Yes, go for it.
Broncos reached out to Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh for their head coaching job. Stop. Please stop. Get a new general manager first. You've screwed up on every other coach. Okay, I'm done.
I mean, you're not wrong that they've screwed up on every other coach, but this is exactly the type of guy I was talking about a couple of days ago. Like I mentioned Sean Payton specifically, but this guy is on that tier 2 or close to it, where like I'm confident that even the most screw up of screw ups, like this general manager, won't mess. If they hire him, it's not a mess up because the guy's a great coach and he's proven and he's an experienced NFL coach. He's not a first timer. He knows what he's getting into. And he, most importantly, would have the gravitas to basically put that inferior GM in his place. You'd basically be hiring yourself into irrelevancy if you're this GM, which is probably the best thing he could do for the team.
If they give him that kind of authority.
Well, I think my guess, and I don't know this is speculation, but my guess is he would insist on it to leave a job like Michigan. I would imagine he would insist on it. I would imagine he'd insist on player personnel decision, like final say in player personnel, and of course coaching. I would be very surprised if he didn't, because we've seen those type of deals before where a guy who used to coach in the NFL or a big time college guy, a team that's desperate for a coach, we've seen this with Mike Holmgren. We saw with Chip Kelly. We've seen this before.
For my money, just stay with go balls to the wall for Peyton.
Yeah. I mean, either one of those would be great hires, I think. I think those are the 2 best guys on the market. And if I could have either one of them for any job that is open now or will open in the offseason, those would be my first 2 calls if I'm serious about trying to actually win. Because they're both experienced coaches, but they both have some tread left on the tires.
Yeah, I'm all in for Peyton, even more than Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think Peyton's probably the better fit because they have quarterback problems, and he's like an actual quarterback guru. He's not Adam.
Right.
Adam
and
Gase.
With Peyton, you also do. I don't think Harbaugh has the same gravitas for getting the GM can.
Yeah, I think both would probably accomplish that. I do, but yeah, I would prefer Peyton if given the choice between the 2. If I could have either one, I would take Peyton as well. Well, there we have it. That is today's show. A rather charged show today. A lot of heavy stuff, some levity in there too, including a DJ Bender reference. You don't see that every day. So there we have it. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 to noon. We'll keep Hamlin in our prayers. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we get some good news between now and then, and we'll keep you posted on Facebook. Check us out, facebook.com, Cave Talk Radio NY. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 to noon here on The Cave.
Do you own a